Hi everyone, my name is Michael Ozaki and this is Three Questions, a time when we ask normal members of our community to come and reflect with us on their life and their faith as a way for us to regain just a little bit of that connection we're missing as a community of faith. This week, we are here with Glenn Hunter, and one of the things that I love about this time with him is you can see, literally see, as his eyes tear up, the love that he has for the youth that he gets to sit with and be with. Not just because he feels like he gets to give them something, but because of all the ways that they show him God without even realizing it. I hope you can hear the still small voice of God speaking as you listen with ears of grace and all that Glenn has to share.
Walking on water, falling in faith. You and I will change. You and I will...
I am confused. I mean, it's there are so many things that are going on, and it's like you want to do what's right, but what's right, and you know, it's also, I'm hopeful. You know, you're hoping for the best, but at the same time, I'm a pessimist. You know, there's so many times it feels like we've had an opportunity to do things, and just not, personally, you know, it's hard to, when you say it's hard to judge or do something without judgment, oh my gosh. That might be one of the hardest things to do, is to just not judge. And you want to know when you should be, when it's responsible not to judge and when it's responsible to. It's hard.
And that's 1 minute.
You and I will change. You and I will change. But the blood is still the same.
I've realized how important some of our high school kids have become to me, you know, and you know, every once in a while I just feel like it's like, oh, it's been a couple weeks since I've put something out on GroupMe, and I just want, and I hope someone sees when I put out a comment that I'm thinking about them, and it's just,
Without saying
just knowing that you're being thought of is, I think, something I take for granted, you know.
Without saying any names, can you think of a time with the high schooler that really impacted you?
Know that when we were there, even though it's been a long time, it's confusing, and you always feel like you're alone, and what's wonderful is their ability to share some of that, which, gosh, I wish I could have done that when I was younger.
It's really clear how much you really love these kids. What do you think, and how much you see God in them, what do you think makes that possible?
So many times you feel like we're the adults and we're supposed to have the answers, and sometimes the answers are closer. It feels like sometimes the high schoolers they're closer to that answer than we are, and sometimes they help us, you know, we can sort of help meet each other at that point instead of pushing them to a direction we think is necessarily right.
It reminds me when Jesus talks about how the kingdom of God is with children, right? These aren't children, but it still seems to be, there's still a connection in youth to the kingdom of God, even if they don't realize it. And we get to experience it through them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's helped me talk to my daughter a little bit more. I try to listen a little bit better, and when it's your own kid, sometimes you still want to push in that direction a little bit more. So some of the high schoolers might have an advantage when they talk with me than sometimes my daughter does. But I'm trying, and and you know, she sometimes it's not as comfortable for give and take, but I realize how much she listens even when it looks like maybe she's not, and that's really cool too.
Or she doesn't want you to know that she's listening.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of the conversations we've had lately have just been that's just really cool.
Give yourselves a little about a minute.
Be lost in the dark, walking on water, falling in faith. You and I will change, you and I will change, but the blood is still the same. Everything will break, everything will break. If it's fire, if it's rain.
It's made me think when things like this happen, why do they happen? And I sort of think of it as God saying, hey, I'm here. And it always feels like it's maybe we're not going exactly in the right direction. But it's also making you see maybe how much we need each other. You know, I mean, so many of our actions are set up the next steps down the line. You know, wearing a mask, can that keep things from getting worse? Can we do things to take care of each other? Can we, you know, and maybe some areas are doing better than that, than other areas when it comes to that. And maybe we need to be looking at each other and saying, you know, why am I not doing that? Or, you know, but so I think it feels like we're at we're hitting a crossroad. And I don't know if we're all going to turn the same direction, you know?
When you think about God, what is an image that might come to mind?
Right now, I almost see him like I guess I sort of see him like a parent. And I know our Father, but, you know, I don't really think about it when I say that. But, you know, it's more like a parent when your kid's like 24, 25 years old, though. Because at that time your kid's sort of on their own, and you know they're on their own, but they still, you know, they still could use some advice, and you hope they'll do the right thing, and every once in a while you go, you're not doing it, but you still have to go, okay, they're gonna make their decision the way they are, but all I can do is keep telling them, you know, and I can do the right thing. I can give them the chance to follow the right thing, but it's like, so I can see, you know, I sort of see them, again, it's weird just to think of it right now, and my wife's gonna, because I just touched my face. But yeah, just that.
It's so interesting because I think, at least for me, I think for most people, when they think of God as parent, they're thinking of like an adult and a small child, right? Someone who they have complete control over. But to be thinking of as a parent of someone who you're still their parent, but you definitely don't have complete control over them, right? At least not if you're a good parent. Yeah.
Right.
That's a whole different way to think of our relationship with God.
Yeah. Yeah. I never really thought of it that way before, but you said, say what come in. It's like,
because the care doesn't change, the desire, the willingness to help in any way doesn't change, right? But there's a very different kind of relationship with there.
yeah.
Let's give us one more minute.
Okay.
I still need you, Father. Trusting in this great unknown.
to
dare to dream.
find some way to make things better, you know, but what makes it hard is I don't know how. You know, there's a lot of things that it's so hard to like leave what's comfortable. I mean, I feel bad I mean, I came back from running an errand, you know, at Target, and there's this woman with a sign right when you're turning out to get out of Target, and it's like not a really good place, but she had this sign about, you know, I'm a single mom and I'm trying to take care, and it's like, and she smiled right as you're turning, and it's like, I should have stopped. And it's like, it's just hard. And I don't know why it's so hard. It shouldn't be so hard.
If you were going to do something to make things better, just because it's something you could do, not necessarily because it's something someone else needs, what might that thing be?
Honestly, I just wish I could be, I don't think when it comes to actionable items, I'd really rather do it with, I'd rather help with someone. When we went to Africa last year, it was because, wow, there was this opportunity, and I can go with someone, and I can learn how to do it. I'm like, I've developed this ability to be able to just talk, but the more people that are around, I close, but I listen. So maybe I understand my daughter that way too.
It's interesting. Lately, I've been obsessed with Hamilton. Have you seen it yet?
No.
So it's on Disney Plus now. I've been obsessed with it, and the whole play is really this kind of juxtaposition between these two characters, Hamilton and Aaron Burr. And Hamilton's theme is basically, I'm not going to miss my shot. So he's always trying to make things happen and make things happen. And Aaron Burr's theme is, I'm going to wait for it. And I think so many times there's that struggle between, are we supposed to make this happen? Or are we supposed to wait for the opportunity and have open hands? And I think for a lot of my life, I assumed that you should be like Hamilton. You got to make things happen, right? God calls you to things, you make them happen. But lately, more and more, it doesn't seem like the people who have the ability to make stuff happen or the most ambitious are the ones that are creating the most good. And more I wonder if actually we are called to wait for it, right? To be the introverts and have open hands and like open schedules, so when God brings the thing into our life, we can actually respond to it. You know, I don't know if that has anything to do with what you were saying, but I can almost hear that struggle within you.
Yeah. Because I think the hardest part is just sort of having those, open ears. You know, yeah. How does Moses hear a burning bush, right? How do we hear calls for help, you know? And then how do you react? I mean, you know,
Yeah.
everyone goes like, I can't be Moses, right? But, you know.
But even Moses wasn't Moses. He was just a dude tending sheep in a field.
Right.
Right? Yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to share or that needs to be said?
Maybe sometimes one of the best things we can do is just be available, right? And I mean, can we not find God because we're looking and instead of connecting the pieces together? I don't know.
Last question. Sum up this time, what you've heard here, in just a few words.
we're not alone, you know. And it's not just make that connection just with God per se, but that, you know, that God's with you, and God's with the high schoolers, and God's with even some of the people you don't agree with.
We often talk about mustard seed, right? That parable of the mustard seed, as in a saying like, oh, I only have so much to give, but I'll give what I have. But we don't realize it's like you are the mustard seed, right? Wherever you are, whatever you decide to be is a mustard seed, and it will grow, right? And it'll become, as Jesus says, the largest plant that takes over the garden. Yeah, I heard those mustard seed senses. Interesting.
Mustard seed. And I was glad.
Glenn, thank you very, very much for doing this.
Mother, father, sister, brother, I believe we need each other.
There's only one other time where I talked about faith a lot, and it was at work when I still worked at Penn State. and it was funny because it was me, someone who had come from China and didn't have a lot of religious views, and then someone who had very, very conservative views.
Yeah.
But it was always a good discussion. We didn't always agree, but it was always a good discussion.